when I woke up to find my Tesla vandalized by our HOA president. I had no idea it would lead to me owning half the neighborhood. But as I sit here watching her being escorted out of her house in handcuffs, I can't help but wonder, did she ever realize she picked a fight with the wrong millionaire? Welcome to my channel. Comment below where you're watching from. I never thought I'd be standing in my driveway at 7 a.m., coffee mug shattered at my feet, staring at long, deep scratches across my Tesla's hood. The morning sun made the damage look even worse, like angry claw marks stretching from headlight to windshield. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone to record the damage. Just yesterday, everything was normal. I'd come home from another long day at my tech company, parked in my usual spot, and added a small Save the Bees bumper sticker to my car. My daughter Emma had given it to me. She's big into saving the planet. The sticker wasn't flashy, just a simple black and yellow design with a cute bee. I thought it was harmless. That's when I heard the familiar click-clack of heels on pavement. Linda Thompson, our HOA president, was power-walking toward me in her perfectly pressed pastel pantsuit, clutching her infamous red folder of violation notices. Behind her, my neighbor Tom Chen was watering his plants, giving me a knowing look. He'd been on the receiving end of Linda's rules last month when she demanded he remove his traditional Chinese New Year decorations 2 days early. "Good morning, Mr. Walker." Linda's voice was sugary sweet, but her eyes were cold as she surveyed my car. "I see you've made some modifications to your vehicle without proper HOA approval." She flipped open her folder with perfectly manicured fingers, producing a fresh violation notice. "It's just a bumper sticker, Linda," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "My daughter gave it to me. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of our bylaws clearly states that all exterior modifications must be approved by the committee." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We have standards to maintain, property values to protect. I'm sure you understand." I did understand. I understood that Linda had turned our peaceful neighborhood into her personal kingdom, ruling with an iron fist hidden behind pastel cardigans and fake smiles. Just last week, she'd forced elderly Mr. Peterson to remove his beloved garden gnomes, claiming they were tacky lawn ornaments. The week before that, she'd harassed Maria Garcia until she tore out her beautiful vegetable garden because it wasn't on the approved plants list. "I'll take it under advisement," I replied, picking up pieces of my broken coffee mug. Linda's smile tightened as she placed the violation notice under my windshield wiper. "You have 48 hours to remove the unauthorized modification," she announced, turning on her heel. "Otherwise, we'll have to discuss this at the next board meeting." What Linda didn't know was that I'd installed security cameras last month after hearing about some car break-ins nearby. As soon as she left, I pulled up the footage on my phone. There she was at 6:30 a.m., deliberately dragging her keys across my car's hood, muttering about teaching people to follow the rules. I looked up to see Tom hurrying over, phone in hand. "I got it too," he whispered, showing me his doorbell camera footage. "And this isn't the first time. I've been collecting evidence for weeks. She's been targeting anyone who questions her rules." My mind raced as I watched the footage again. Linda had no idea who she was dealing with. Tomorrow, I was supposed to sign the final papers selling my tech company for $50 million. I'd kept quiet about it, living modestly in this middle-class neighborhood because I liked the simplicity. But now, as I watched Linda strut down the street to harass Maria about her wind chimes, I realized something had to change. "Hey Tom," I said quietly, "how much do you know about HOA, voting rights, and property ownership in this neighborhood?" He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I'm a real estate lawyer." "Why do you ask?" I smiled, picking up Linda's violation notice and carefully folding it into my pocket. "I think it's time we looked into some investment opportunities in Oakwood Estates. But first, I need to make a few calls about certain properties that might be coming up for sale." As I headed inside to check my security camera's cloud storage, I heard Linda's voice carrying across the street. "Mrs. Garcia, those wind chimes aren't on the approved outdoor accessories list." I paused at my door, watching Maria's shoulders slump in defeat. Little did Linda know, her perfectly controlled world was about to change. I just had to be smart about it. After all, the best revenge takes patience, and I had something much better than anger on my side. I had a plan. I was sipping my morning coffee when Tom Chen knocked on my door, clutching his phone with shaking hands. "You need to see this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I invited him in, noticing how he kept glancing over his shoulder like someone might be watching. Tom's doorbell camera had caught everything. Not just last night's vandalism, but weeks of Linda's late-night visits to my car. The footage showed her in her signature pink robe, keys in hand, muttering about teaching that troublemaker a lesson, while she dragged her keys across my Tesla's paint. Each video was worse than the last, She'd been escalating, getting bolder with every attack. "There's more," Tom said, pulling out a thick folder. "She's been doing this to everyone who stands up to her." He spread out dozens of photos across my kitchen table. Mrs. Rodriguez's flower, beds ripped up after she questioned, the new landscaping rules, the Collins family's basketball hoop, mysteriously broken after they opposed the no sports equipment policy. Even Tom's own garden gnomes had disappeared after he voted against Linda's pool renovation project. While Tom talked, I pulled up my banking app. The notification still felt surreal. $50 million, sitting there after selling my cybersecurity startup. I'd kept it quiet, still driving my 3-year-old Tesla and living in my modest house. But now, seeing Linda's smug face in those videos, something clicked in my mind. "Watch this," I told Tom, pulling up the county property records on my laptop. "Look who owns the mortgage company that holds most of the loans in our neighborhood." My fingers flew across the keyboard as I showed him the complex web of shell companies Linda had set up. She wasn't just terrorizing us with HOA rules. She was making money from every forced sale, every refinancing, every desperate homeowner who couldn't pay her ridiculous fines. That's when my phone buzzed. Another HOA violation notice. Unauthorized vehicle modifications and deteriorating. Appearance, $500 fine. Due within 7 days. Below it was a photo of my keyed car, presented as evidence of my negligent vehicle maintenance. I called my lawyer right there, putting him on speaker. As he explained my options, Tom's eyes got wider and wider. Linda had been careful, building her little empire of fear one violation at a time. But she'd made one massive mistake. She thought I was just another resident she could bully into submission. "Tom," I said after hanging up, "would you be willing to share those videos with a judge?" He nodded eagerly, then froze as we heard a car door slam outside. Through my window, we watched Linda marching up and down the street, pink clipboard in hand, writing up more violations. She stopped in front of my house, her face twisting into a sneer as she spotted my car. That's when I noticed something odd. She was wearing the same pink robe from the security footage. My stomach dropped as I realized she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She wanted me to know it was her. I thought I was just buying a nice house in a quiet neighborhood, I told Tom, watching Linda photograph my damaged car. But I think I just found a much better investment opportunity. I pulled up the real estate listings for our neighborhood, clicking buy on the first available house. Then another, and another. Tom stared at my screen in disbelief. "What are you doing?" I smiled, forwarding the purchase confirmations to my lawyer. "Linda wants to play games with property values? Let's see how she handles a new neighbor with very deep pockets." As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. Another violation notice, this time for unauthorized surveillance equipment. She'd spotted Tom's doorbell camera. But this notice was different. At the bottom, in bold red letters, "Emergency HOA board meeting, tomorrow. Night, attendance mandatory." Looking at that notice, I couldn't help but wonder, how many other people had Linda broken? And more importantly, how many houses could I buy before tomorrow night's meeting? Tom left with a copy of the videos safely backed up to my cloud storage. Through my window, I watched Linda still making her rounds, completely unaware that her little kingdom was about to face its biggest challenge yet. I opened my laptop again, searching for more properties for sale in our neighborhood. One thing was certain. Tomorrow night's meeting was going to be very interesting. I sat in my home office, staring at the property map of Oakwood Estates spread across my desk. Red circles marked the 6 houses I'd quietly bought through different company names over the last month. Linda had no idea that while she was busy writing me up for my eyesore of a Tesla, I was becoming one of the biggest property owners in the neighborhood. The previous night, I'd gotten a text from Tom showing Linda taking photos of my car again. This time, she brought her friend Susan from the board, both of them shaking their heads and pointing at my bumper sticker. They looked like kids plotting to steal cookies. Except these cookies cost me $12,000 in paint damage. My phone buzzed. My lawyer confirmed the paperwork was ready. Perfect timing, because tonight was the monthly HOA meeting where Linda planned to fine me for my damaged vehicle. The same vehicle she damaged. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. Walking into the community center, I noticed Linda had rearranged the chairs into a half circle, putting herself on a raised platform like some kind of small-town judge. She barely looked up when I walked in, just kept shuffling her papers with that smug smile I'd grown to hate. Other neighbors filtered in, including Tom, who gave me a subtle thumbs up. "First order of business," Linda announced, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "We need to address the growing problem of vehicle deterioration in our community. Mr. Harrison, your Tesla has become an eyesore with its extensive scratches and unauthorized modifications." I stayed quiet, watching her dig her own grave deeper and deeper. She pulled up photos on the projector, zooming in on the scratches she'd made herself. As per our bylaws, we'll be issuing a $500 fine, which will repeat weekly until the situation is remedied. That's when I stood up, my lawyer walking in right on cue. Actually, Linda, I'd like to call for a vote on that. The room got so quiet you could hear the AC humming. Excuse me? Linda's face reddened. You don't have the authority to. As the owner of 478 Maple Drive, 223 Oak Lane, 891 Pine Street, 654 Birch Road, 432 Cedar Avenue, and 767 Elm Court, my lawyer read out. My client controls 30% of the voting rights in this association. The color drained from Linda's face. Several board members started whispering. Susan dropped her pen. But Linda wasn't done. She composed herself, straightening her jacket. Well, that's very interesting timing, Mr. Harrison. But as it happens, the board has already drafted emergency rules, requiring all vehicle modifications, including bumper stickers, to be pre-approved by our new appearance committee. She gestured to her daughter Jessica, who I hadn't noticed sitting in the corner. Jessica will be heading this committee and— Point of order, I interrupted, pulling out my own copy of the HOA bylaws. Emergency rules require 72 hours notice to all homeowners. Where's the documentation of that notice? Linda's smile faltered. We sent emails. To which addresses? Because I've checked with 15 neighbors who received no such notice. I glanced at Tom, who nodded confirmation. The meeting devolved into chaos after that. Linda tried to adjourn early, but I called for an immediate vote of no confidence in her leadership. We didn't win. She'd stacked the board too well for that. But the look of panic in her eyes told me everything. She knew this was just the beginning. Walking to my car afterward, I heard quick footsteps behind me. It was Jessica, Linda's daughter, looking nervous but determined. You think you're so clever, she hissed. But Mom's been running this neighborhood for 15 years. You have no idea what she's capable of. I smiled, getting into my scratch Tesla. That's where you're wrong, Jessica. I know exactly what she's capable of. The question is, does she know what I'm capable of? As I drove home, I pulled up the email from my private investigator on my phone's screen reader. The subject line read, Thompson Financial Holdings, ownership records found. Linda's perfect little kingdom was about to face a revolution she never saw coming. I was walking my dog one morning when I saw Tom running toward me, out of breath. You need to see this, he said, pulling up his phone. The screen showed Linda screaming at Maria Garcia, my elderly neighbor, who was crying as Linda's minions ripped out her prized rose garden. The roses Maria had planted in memory of her late husband. My blood boiled, but I kept my voice steady as I asked Tom to send me the video. Back home, I opened my laptop and started digging. Turns out Tom wasn't the only one with stories. My inbox filled with security footage from other neighbors. Linda harassing Mr. Peterson about his garden gnomes until he moved out, threatening single mom Sarah Jenkins over her kids' chalk drawings, and fining the Williams family for their son's wheelchair ramp being not aesthetically pleasing. I called an emergency meeting at my house. 20 neighbors showed up, each with their own Linda horror story. Maria brought her famous empanadas, her hands still dirty from trying to save what was left of her roses. Mr. Peterson, joined by video chat from his son's house, where he'd been forced to move after Linda's relentless fines bankrupted him. She's not just mean, Sarah Jenkins said, bouncing her youngest on her knee. She's breaking laws, but nobody can afford to fight her in court. That's when I shared my plan. I pulled up the property records on my TV screen, showing how I'd quietly bought 6 houses in the neighborhood. Tom's eyes went wide as he realized what I was doing. But the real shock came when Maria's daughter, a paralegal, pulled up an old county map. Look at this, she said, pointing to the original property lines. Linda's been enforcing rules on land that's not even part of the HOA. We all huddled around the screen, the excitement building as we realized we had actual legal grounds to fight back. Just then my security system pinged. Linda's daughter Chelsea had joined the HOA board that morning. They thought they were consolidating power, but they didn't know I was already 3 steps ahead. While everyone was focused on the map, I got an email confirming my purchase of 3 more properties. Better yet, my investigation into their mortgage company had revealed something huge, something that would wipe the smug smiles right off their faces. Tom helped me set up a secure website where neighbors could upload evidence of Linda's harassment. Sarah's teenage son, a computer whiz, showed us how to organize everything by date and type of violation. Mr. Peterson called his old neighbors, and soon we had a decade's worth of documented abuse. As our group worked late into the night, Maria's roses sat in buckets of water on my kitchen counter. We were going to replant them, all of them. But first, we had to end Linda's reign of terror. I hadn't told anyone yet about owning their mortgage company. That card would be played at just the right moment. Chelsea and Linda were planning something big. We could feel it. They'd called an emergency HOA meeting for tomorrow night to address neighborhood deterioration. Little did they know, we'd be addressing some deterioration of our own. The deterioration of their power. Looking around my living room at all these neighbors who'd become friends, united against a common enemy, I realized something. This wasn't just about my keyed Tesla anymore. This was about standing up to bullies who thought their money and power put them above the law. As everyone headed home, Maria paused at my door. "You know they'll try to destroy you too, right?" she asked quietly. I just smiled, thinking about the bombshell I'd drop tomorrow. Linda had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed. Another property purchase confirmed. In just a few hours, Linda would learn the hard way. Sometimes the quietest neighbor is the most dangerous one to cross. I walked into the community center that evening with my laptop under my arm, feeling eerily calm. Linda sat at her special chair at the front, wearing that fake smile she always used when she was about to ruin someone's day. The room was packed. She'd made sure. Every homeowner knew. This was a mandatory emergency meeting about community standards. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They hadn't since Tom helped me set up the 5 hidden cameras around the room. We needed to catch every second of what was about to happen. Linda's daughter, Sarah, stood by the projector, probably ready to show everyone pictures of my deteriorating Tesla. "Before we begin," I said, standing up before Linda could start her usual speech, "I have some security footage I'd like to share with everyone." The confused murmurs in the room grew louder when I plugged in my laptop instead of letting Sarah use her prepared presentation. Linda's face turned red. "This meeting has an agenda. You can't just—" "Actually, I can," I said, clicking play. "You see, I own 35% of the properties in this neighborhood now." The screen lit up with crystal-clear footage of Linda keying my car at 6:43 a.m. 3 weeks ago. Then another clip from 2 weeks ago. Then another. Sarah lunged for the laptop, but Tom blocked her path. "Don't worry," I said to the gasping crowd. "I have copies. Lots of copies, including the ones I sent to the police this morning." Linda jumped up, her designer purse falling to the floor. "He's lying!" "I would never. This is clearly fake." Her voice cracked as the next video showed her scratching Maria's car too. "Remember when you told Mrs. Chen her garage door was the wrong shade of white?" I clicked to another slide. "Here's the property records showing you approved the exact same color for your friend, Barbara, last year. And here's your daughter's company getting all the painting contracts." The room erupted. Mr. Peterson stood up, pointing his cane at Linda. "She did the same thing to my garden gnomes. Said they were unapproved lawn decorations, but Barbara's flamingos were fine." I held up my hand. "It gets better. Linda, remember that mortgage company that bought your house last month when you refinanced? The one that gave you such a great rate?" I pulled out a folder. "I own it. Have owned it for weeks. Just like I own the company that's been buying properties here." Sarah screamed, "You can't do this! We control this neighborhood!" "My mother has run this HOA for 15 years. Had run it," I corrected her, pulling up the next document. "The State Attorney General's office is very interested in the pattern of selective enforcement I've documented. They're especially curious about where all those fines went." I turned to the crowd. "Did you know our HOA fees went up 60% last year? But there's no record of any improvements?" Linda suddenly ran toward the computer, knocking over chairs. "I won't let you ruin everything I've built." She grabbed for the laptop but tripped over the cord, sending it crashing to the floor. It didn't matter. The footage was still playing on the projector, now showing her destroying Maria's garden at midnight. The room went silent as Linda scrambled to her feet, mascara running down her face. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "I did everything for this community. These people needed someone to maintain standards. Without me, this place would look like a real neighborhood." Maria stood up, holding her phone. "By the way, Linda, you're live on Facebook right now. My cousin's a reporter at Channel 5. She's very interested in this story." Blue and red lights flashed through the windows. Linda's face went pale as she realized police cars were pulling up outside. Sarah tried to run for the back door, but Tom's wife Jenny was already there, holding up her phone with more incriminating videos. "Oh," I added, watching Linda sink into her chair. "I almost forgot the best part. Remember when you said my bumper sticker was destroying property values?" I pulled up the last slide, a real estate analysis, showing how property values had dropped 15% under her leadership compared to surrounding neighborhoods. Turns out the only thing hurting property values was you. The police walked in just as Linda made one last desperate grab for the evidence. But it was too late. Everything was already backed up, documented, and in the hands of authorities. As they led her away, I stuck a new bumper sticker on my freshly repaired Tesla. Karma comes full circle. The morning of the final HOA meeting started with a bang, literally. Linda had thrown a rock through my front window with a note that read, "Leave Oakwood Estates or else." Perfect. That was exactly what I needed to finish this once and for all. I walked into the packed community center, where every seat was filled. Linda sat at her special table up front, wearing her fake pearls and that smug smile. She had no idea that in my briefcase, I carried enough evidence to end her reign of terror forever. "Before we begin," I said, standing up before Linda could start her usual speech, "I have some interesting security footage to share." The projector flickered to life, showing Linda keying not just my car, but Mrs. Johnson's minivan and Mr. Chen's new Prius. The room got so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Linda jumped up, her face red as a tomato. "That video is fake! He's trying to destroy our beautiful community." But then I played the audio, her voice crystal, clear as she muttered about teaching us all a lesson. Next came the spreadsheets. Every illegal fine she'd ever issued, every family she'd forced out, every penny she'd collected through her fake community improvement fees. I'd spent months working with a forensic accountant to track it all. The best part? I'd already sent copies to the FBI's white-collar crime division. "You think you're so smart," Linda sneered, grabbing her designer purse. "But you have no idea who you're dealing with. My husband's law firm will—" "Your husband's law firm?" I interrupted, feeling a smile spread across my face. "You mean the one that just got bought out last week? Guess who signed those papers?" The look on her face was worth every penny of that purchase. That's when her daughter Sarah tried to run for the door with a box of documents. But Officer Rodriguez, who I'd invited after filing police reports about the vandalism, was already waiting. Turns out those documents proved Linda had been forging signatures on HOA papers for years. The next few hours were like watching dominoes fall. The police led Linda and Sarah away in handcuffs. The state attorney general's office launched a full investigation. The remaining board members, realizing they might be next, started singing like canaries about every shady deal Linda had ever made. But the real victory came 3 months later. I used my tech company experience to create a new neighborhood app where residents could vote on community decisions directly. The old families Linda had pushed out started moving back, thanks to the reduced-rate housing I'd set up in the properties I'd bought. Mr. Peterson's garden gnome collection grew bigger than ever. Maria's native plant garden became a butterfly sanctuary that local schools now visit. Tom Chen started a weekend farmers market in the community center parking lot. Even Mrs. Johnson, who'd almost lost her house to Linda's fake fines, became our new community board president. Last week, I got a letter from Linda's prison cell demanding I remove my Save the Bees sticker because it was still against HOA regulations. I framed it and hung it next to my new community service award. My car now sports a whole collection of bumper stickers, each one representing a family that's moved back home. Sometimes at night, I sit on my porch and watch kids riding their bikes past houses with rainbow-colored doors, past yards with vegetable gardens and solar panels, all the things Linda used to ban. The property values she was so worried about? They've gone up 30% since she left, thanks to our reputation as the most inclusive, sustainable community in the state. People often ask if I regret spending so much money just to take down one power-hungry HOA president. But watching Mr. Peterson teach neighborhood kids how to plant tomatoes in the community garden, right where Linda's prized roses used to be, I know it was worth every cent. Real community isn't about rules and fines. It's about bringing people together. And that Save the Bees sticker that started it all, it's still there, a little scratched but unbowed, just like our community. The information in this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. HOA rules and laws vary by state and community.